In this video, I'm going to show you how Excel deals with dates and introduce some very useful date calculations. I'm going to kick off with a little formula that will tell us what today's date is. If I type equals NOW for now, open close brackets and press enter, I get the 6th of the 6th, 2012. I'm just going to put the word today next to it so we know what it is, and there below it I'm going to put date of birth, and I'm going to make up somebody's fictitious birth date, the 5th of June 1976, and press enter. Well, it's quite clear that those two dates are in very different formats. It would be much better to format them so that they were consistent. I'm going to right click on there and format the cells. I'm going to format them as a date, and I'm going to choose a nice unambiguous one. 14th of March 2001 is not the date that it will put in, but the format that it will use for it, and that's much better. Note that it was quite easy for Excel to guess that I was typing a date because I gave it the full word June when I typed in. What would have happened if I typed in the 5th of the 6th, 1976 with slashes between them and pressed enter? Well, it certainly worked out it was a date, but has it worked out that it's the 5th of June or the 6th of May? Just one way to find out. I'm going to right click there and format the cells. Again, I'm going to say number is going to be for date, but using an unambiguous format, and press OK. And yes, it's worked out it's the 5th of June. But some machines are formatted differently, so you can't always rely on an English date. It's always good to check what you've actually got when you're dealing with dates. As we've just seen, Excel can show us dates in a number of formats, but under the lid it deals with dates very differently. If I click on today's date and right-click it and do my format cells again, not as date but in just general format, we see something very interesting happen. Internally, Excel believes that today's date is 41,066.5 as a number. What is the number? Actually, it is the number of days that have elapsed between the 1st of January 1900 and today. All dates in Excel are internally held as a number from a reference point of the 1st of January 1900. So if I look at that date of birth there and right-click it and format it and make it again a general number and OK, we see that that's 27,916. It's actually the number of dates that had elapsed between the 1st of January 1900 and the 5th of June 1976. So, if we know the number of days that have elapsed between the 1st of January 1900 and the 5th of June 1976, and we also know the number of days that had elapsed between the 1st of January 1900 and today, what can we do? Well, we can take one away from the other. We can say equals today's date minus that date of birth and press enter, and we discover that there are 13,150 days that that person had lived. Still not quite as useful as we'd like it to be. We really want to know how many years that person has lived, so we can take equals that divided by 365 days in the year. Just be careful here because we have the odd leap year to deal with as well. There are in fact 365.25 days in a year to take account of the leap years, and press enter, and we know that that person is just over 36 years old. I'm going to tidy it up a little so we can see our dates properly again, because that number format is just a little bit too confusing for me. I'm going to put that back into dates and in a format that is unambiguous, and say OK. I deliberately chose a date of birth that was very close to today's date so that we would get 36.00 to show that the decimal places were being honoured. What would happen, however, if it wasn't the 5th of June, but the 7th of June? The 7th of June 1976, and press enter. Now he's 35.98888, so flipping close to 36, but not quite. Let's see what we can do about making that a more useful number. Well, clearly we don't need all those decimal places, do we? We only want the number of years he's dealing with. So we right-click on him, we format the cells, and we change it to a number this time, and 0 decimal places, and say OK. And he's 36. But we still know he's not 36. He's not 36 until tomorrow. So what are we going to do about that? Well, the problem is actually here. We want the integer value of that formula. And press enter, and he's back down to 35. So to summarize, Excel treats all days as the number of days that have elapsed between the 1st of January 1900 and the day you've typed in. And that allows you to use the commonality between dates so that they can be subtracted to extract the number of days between the dates, and that number of days between dates can be divided by the number of days in a year, not forgetting the 0.25 for the leap years, and then you may have to play with a number of decimal places in order to get something meaningful out of it. In the next video in this series, I'm going to use the skills we've just learned in order to extract date information in a much more useful way. Thank you very much for listening.